And after the uprisings in Tunisia and Libya, many analysts came to question what course these countries were taking as they gradually moved back to square one, with thousands taking to the streets again. To talk about the broader implications of the Arab Spring, we can now cross live to author and researcher Adrian Salbucci in Buenos Aires. Mr. Salbucci, thank you very much to have you with us.
My pleasure.
Is Morsi serving the goals of the revolution or following a radical Islamist path?
Well, probably he's following a much more radical Islamist path, which is not what the Western powers had expected. In the short term, clearly some countries have fallen the way that the Western powers wanted, like Libya. Others are being pushed off the edge, like Syria. And Egypt is a case at hand, which is definitely not falling the way that the Western powers wanted. Now, that being said, it's only if you look at it from the short-term point of view, if you believe that they really wanted democracy and an improvement for the Egyptian people. If you look at it from a long-term point of view, perhaps quite a number of objectives are being reached by the fact that Egypt and Tunisia, for example, are still in dire turmoil.
Now, will passing this constitution end the popular unrest, or is it likely to incite even more anger?
It probably will incite even more anger because once you unleash these powers or these forces, as has happened in the past year and a half, almost 2 years with the so-called Arab Spring, you have more and more people in a very contradictory way requiring more, asking for more. And unfortunately, it happens in all countries in the world, even in America and in the European Union. People do not quite grasp what the forces driving all this social turmoil are really all about and what their objectives are. So in a way, I think that probably one of the objectives is to maintain social turmoil, because the more social turmoil a country has inside, the weaker it is towards the outside. And a weak Egypt is certainly in the Western powers' objectives.
Now, shortly after he was elected, President Morsi distanced himself a bit from the Muslim Brotherhood. But do you think that he will now further try to distance himself to operate as a more popular leader?
Well, he will definitely be pressured from outside. We know that all leaders in weak countries, relatively weak countries like Egypt, like countries in South America, have to find the middle ground to appease those forces from outside, especially from the Western powers on the one side, and then the requirements, the social requirements, and in some cases even the cultural and religious requirements from inside, from their own people. So it depends on how good or how bad Mr. Morsi will be in driving the middle line and doing this balancing act between these two tremendous forces that he probably already feels is ripping his government apart.
Now, we've seen revolutions in Tunisia and in Libya. Are there any similarities between Egypt's revolution and its neighbors?
Yes, definitely, because what we are seeing here is we have to understand that the whole so-called Arab Spring is basically a way that the Western powers have found of engineering civil war and engineering civil strife. So definitely the whole objective of generating generalized war in the Middle East has been achieved. I would call that stage one. Now they will move on forward to stage two, which will be using the Middle Eastern war situation as a beachhead towards even more ambitious objectives in Iran, definitely in Syria, and beyond that, even against Russia and China. So we shouldn't see this as a short-term set of objectives, but as the long-term objectives that the Western powers have, where Egypt is a key factor, but it's just one of the many pieces that are falling as they progress at these objectives into the future.
All right. Appreciate your thoughts on the subject. Thank you very much for being with us. Adrian Salbucci, founder of the Argentinian Second Republic Project in Buenos Aires.